Hey, it's Joe Farrow with Geek Toolkit, and today I want to talk about this Makerspace cleanup I've been working on. The reason I do this is I did a lot of research to find ideas on how to do a home makerspace, and I just didn't come up with a lot of ideas. I wasn't getting a lot back for home makerspaces that looked organized. And as I did this, I realized that I'm solving a lot of problems that might be helpful for the maker community, so I wanted to share those out and also get your guys' ideas. What are the latest things that you've been doing to make yourself more productive or kind of keep things organized? I'm not going to do a bunch of editing or even use a mic. I'm just going to try to talk through this so I can get some content out to you that I think is super useful. So here we go. The first thing is I put up a pegboard inside of, this is basically a big bedroom in my house that I dedicated to a makerspace. And I was nervous about this because putting a pegboard up in a bedroom seemed or basically a bonus room, it seemed a little sketchy. Normally I think of pegboards in a garage, let's say. And the thing is, I think this came out beautiful. I'm really happy with it. It's, it's not the brown typical pegboard. It's actually a plastic grid. You buy like each piece. So you can see this is a piece here. You see the seam. Each piece was about $5. I put two 2x4s, actually three 2x4s along the back on the wall. These grids are spaced 16 inches on center. My studs are actually 24 inches on this wall, so putting the 2x4s allowed me to have something to screw into. Let's see if I can show that. Yep. And I just screwed in along the top. I did 3 horizontals. It means I didn't have to put as many holes in my wall. I'm not putting a lot of weight on this thing. And it holds it great. I only put the tools I use often on here, so a lot of other tools go in drawers and such, but things I use often, it's really nice to be able to just look up and grab it. The next thing I want to talk about is over here. This is called an Ikea Helmer. Doesn't matter what you get. The thing I found out is if you get a drawer system and you get something like, let's see, you label it and you put a plastic organizer in it, it really gives you about 24 or 30 spaces per setup here to organize things. And what's cool is I learned a lot of my work here looking at makeup organization tutorials. If you think about makeup organization, it's organizing small things in an efficient way to use it in the morning. And it really translated well to electronics. So that's where I got this idea from, and it's worked really well. These are my battery holders, basically power sources. So inserts, bins, and labels. And you can see I've got these all over. I've got to label these still, but these are my components. My resistors, capacitors, and stuff are in here. You can see I've got a solder and electrostatic strap. Third thing I want to talk about is the PC I've got going on. Now, I've got a PC, and I think this has been super efficient. It's an old Intel NUC Celeron. These are like $60 to $100 on eBay right now, if you get an old enough one. And I really don't have a lot of power on this thing. Basically, all I use it for, though, is showing pictures in YouTube. Next to that, the NUC is the thing on the left. The square, the thing on the right, is actually my home automation Raspberry Pi. So I have a network hub there. I think that's important. I'll talk about that in a sec. And then here's an idea of what I'm doing with this. So these pictures are basically quick reference pictures. These are for, let's see, this is for schematics. And I'm going to click through and show. These are commands. Let's see, this is a Linux cheat sheet for when I'm doing Raspberry Pi work. I'll zoom back out. Python shortcuts. This one's really nice. This is a Raspberry Pi pinout. And so you see I'm not running programs or anything so much on here. It's just showing pictures. So I don't need a lot of compute. Matter of fact, I don't need that big of a big deal of a monitor either. This is a used monitor, I believe, that I got off of like an OfferUp or something. So used monitor, a little cheap computer, a little cheap keyboard, not using it a lot, so you can go really inexpensive, or at least I did. And basically it gives me a nice reference system. So let's talk about some of the tools too while I'm at it. I've got, or some of the things I've acquired that have been really useful. This is a power supply. This lets me go from up to 30 volts and I think 5 amps. It's very nice. I've never used it at anywhere near capacity, but it's very nice to be able to just dial in what I need for power. This is another thing that's a favorite of mine. These are basically a wire reel that has all different gauges of wire. And at the top I've got these. These are, I want to say these are 20 or 22 gauge, but basically it's my connection wire. And so if I need to do like a red and white wire, it's very simple to get the colors I want to make my projects look a little bit cleaner and to be a little bit more organized. Here's something else that I really like. This is a, I don't even think this was necessarily made for electronics, but each one of these comes out and is an organization bin. And then you can see this handle comes up and this thing comes out as a bin. So if I want to take a project to another person's house or whatever, I can load up electronics here and then take the whole thing with me. These are super useful if you're into Arduinos, and I just keep them. I love it because they come organized and labeled. These are sensor kits. They're great for Arduinos, Raspberry Pis, any kind of MCU work. You've basically got, let's see here. There we go, we'll do it like this. So what they do is they do an overlay, and then underneath the overlay is the part. So you can see right there, I've got a relay, and there's the relay. And so they come organized, they come labeled, very inexpensive. If you search for 37 sensor kit on Amazon or whatever online site, you'll probably see these. And they're great for just kind of having a nice selection of things to work with. This is an electronics learning kit, and then my next shelf up is all my soldering stuff. I used to keep this on my desk. I felt like it took a lot of room up on my desk, and when I solder, it's normally a pull it out, do the job, and then I want to get everything turned off and put away. So having it up there has freed up my desk, and it's been a lot more efficient. The next thing I want to talk about are these bins here. These are what are called Ikea Calyx grids, but there's a lot of grid organizers. I do like the Ikea ones because I think it's a 12-inch by 12-inch square. And what that is that allows you to put, if you want to put a receiver or an Xbox or a PlayStation or anything like that, basically home electronics will fit in here sideways. So you can organize this in a different way. I've decided to put inserts in all of mine because I felt like it was a really clean look. But having that flexibility for the wider ones is nice. This is where all my wires are. I used to have wire bundles that were horrible, and to be honest, I still do, but they look more organized now, and I can, sorry, I'm getting bumped as I try to do this. Like, this is my video bin, and you know, there's wire bundles in there, but I know this is where all my video wires are, and I can take this over to the couch and sit down and sort through it and look for a wire that's a video wire and know it's going to be in here. And I think that's super nice. I've got a network one on the end, and then I've got a power cord one. This is all my power cords. So if I'm looking for anything for a wall wart or a tablet power adapter, it's going to be in that bin. This bin here, ironically also called power cords, this has all my strips. Now, I put all of the power strips in my house are in this bin, all my spares. So my wife knows this. If she's looking for a power strip, or if I need one for a project, I've got one bin for them. The other nice thing is, as I retire power strips from other parts of the house, as I clean things up, I put them in here. I know where they go. I know where they're at. So I've done, let's see, this is a 4x4, and then I've put another one on top that I need to screw into it, but that's a 4x2. So it gave me basically floor to ceiling for my house. Storage on the wall there. They don't take up a lot of room. You can screw things to the side. You can see it's kind of bleeding over to my game room or in my gaming area. So that's in other videos, but I was just able to reuse that space there. Okay, going back over to here, let's see, we've done the computer. So this monitor, even if I didn't have a computer here, this monitor has been really, really critical for Raspberry Pi projects, I find, or anything where I'm working on a computer. because what I have over here are ports. This is a 5 in 1 out switch box for HDMI, and this is the remote here. I've just got it basically velcroed onto the wall there. These are called command strips, by the way, and they're nice because you can pull them off with they come off mostly clean. In fact, actually, I would say they come off really clean. I haven't had any problems with those. I've got speakers that are plugged into the audio out on my monitor, and the reason I did that is because of the way I use the switch box. If I plug a Raspberry Pi into the switch box over HDMI, the audio will go into the monitor and out through the speakers. And as I switch to switch box for video, my audio will switch with it, which is really, really handy. I got this for another video. I'll have to find it, but it's basically a microphone mount, and at the end of the microphone mounts an adapter, and then the adapter goes into a cell phone mount. And so what this allows me to do is, if you're going to film over basically an overhead view, this is about a $30 setup. You get, I think it was a $12 microphone mount, probably under $30, but this lets me film. I can raise and lower it. I have a lot of different levels of being able to adjust this. And I find that really useful for filming for my YouTube, but also if I wanted to just record a project or document something or even stream it, I would have the ability to do that. Very inexpensive way to do that off to the side. This is an LED magnifier light, super useful for electronics work, soldering, stuff like that. Adding as light as filming. I've also got, this is my speaker control wire, and then you've got one of these here glued to the side. This is so I can put USB cables on here. Where would those go to? Those would go to here. It's an Anker power bar. It's got 5 USBs. So you can imagine this is where this really comes in handy. I've got let's say a Raspberry Pi. I need power. I can plug into here. Video, plug into here. This keyboard that's plugged into the computer has just a little dongle on the front of the, remember the Intel NUC down there. I can pull that off, plug it into the Raspberry Pi, and then I've got a monitor, sound, and keyboard and mouse control. I can do that with anything. If I'm working on building out a computer or anything, I can work on that here. This is basically a power strip, and I just lay it across the back of the desk, and that gives me quite a lot of power options to pull from, which is really handy. The trick here is, for my Makerspace, I had to have a lot of discipline to not just start plugging everything into here. So I had to set up another power brick. It's actually on the back. See those 3 straps there? That's where the power for the computer and the lights and everything else is going. That way this ends up being freed up. These are really handy too. This is just has my wire bundle. I mean, there's actually 4 or 5 wires in here. There's a couple HDMIs, my audio and such. So just a little cleanup tip. Okay, so I've had this for, I guess, about a week and a half now. I've done this at my other house before I moved, and here's some of the things that come out of this. I'm much more efficient. I can find things a lot quicker, and I spend a lot less time kind of digging around looking for things or looking for tools or realizing I do or don't have something. The other thing is I'm more likely to know where something is and less likely to buy a second one of it. I don't know if you have that problem where you're like, I really thought I had one of those and I can't find it. You buy it, the day it arrives, you find your old one. The other thing is it just kind of lowers my anxiety on projects. Being in a chaotic area makes a project a lot less palatable to just kind of go through it and work on something. Whereas when everything's kind of nice and neat and organized, I actually find myself wanting to work on projects. So some of the things I've found so far. And I guess the last thing I want to say is I was always worried when I did this that it would be very, very hard to maintain. And the truth is, because I didn't go ultra crazy, like I didn't tie off all of my wires that are in these bins, they're just kind of sitting in there, but they are separated. It makes it, a little bit harder to keep clean, but it makes me a lot more motivated to keep it clean. The pegboard alone has been something that I'm very, my screwdrivers, when I'm done with them, they go back on the pegboard. They don't stay on the desk. And that has led to some really messy things in the past. So by having the pegboard, it keeps me cleaner. It hasn't taken up a ton of time. I believe it's going to be maintainable. And if you guys really like this, I can do a more in-depth, more edited video. But for now, I just wanted to get that data out there and just let you know where I'm at. Thanks for watching. It's Joe Farrow with Geek Toolkit, and I have some cool content coming soon I'm very excited about. Till then.